slow down and give me a little more detail here.
I would encourage just to try and do that thing that's been on your mind.
It doesn't matter. I'm like, no, I do kind of get it because this test is what we're going to send to colleges to see if you're going to go there or not.
I would post like 5 to 7 times a day, every single day. I never took a day off. It didn't matter if I was on vacation. It didn't matter if I was sick. I would plan ahead. I would do whatever. And I got really burned out.
All right, friends, today I get to interview Emily Feret. What a fun guest. Of course, if you follow her on TikTok, you already know she's a ton of fun. I love her. We talk a lot about trying and just experiencing life and shutting out all the negativity and all the noise and enjoying ourselves, picking up new hobbies, letting it be what it is, and celebrating the successes that we have, not where we fall short. So listen in to be inspired and to make the most of your day today. Friends, today I have Emily Feret as a guest on the podcast, and I am so excited. Emily, thanks for joining us.
So excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I know, you're awesome. You're awesome, awesome, awesome. And one of the cool things that you have mastered, which I have not, is social media.
I don't know if I've mastered it, but I do. I have a pretty good understanding of it these days. Yeah.
Yes. Like, what did you do before TikTok?
The same thing I do now, which is I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I just now throw a little. I'm comfortable now saying content creator, so I do that alongside of being just a stay-at-home mom. So
Isn't that funny how it takes us a while to own some of these titles that we're doing?
yes, yeah, I still feel weird saying it because I don't have a manager. I don't go on brand trips. I'm just like right now my kid is upstairs eating chocolate chips out of a cup and playing on his iPad, and we're just gonna pray he doesn't wander down here.
I know, right? It's reality. I mean, 100%. I mean, I ate Fruity Pebbles today. Okay, so let's be honest. It's just, I was hungry. We only have carb, sugar loaded cereal apparently because I guess I turned into that mom somehow. And here we are.
That's the best kind. So there you go. Yeah. So that's my full-time job is stay-at-home mom to 2 kids. So
Awesome. Awesome. And when you do content creation, are you like, is that a lens that you look at your day through and say, like, oh, this would be good content? Or are you like coming up with ideas or how does that work?
I feel like a little bit of both. I definitely think it's more I'm thinking of ideas for videos, and then that's the main way. And then randomly though something will happen, maybe a funny story, maybe I don't know, something funny my kid said or something that sparked an idea in my head, and I'll just like pocket that idea for later. And I'm like, okay, that could be a good video for later. Um Luckily, I've struck a good balance, I feel like, where I'm not waking up and thinking content, content, content. It's just more if something sparks an idea, inspiration through the day, I'll run with that.
Okay. And how far ahead are you doing your content?
Oh, not far ahead at all.
Okay.
I fly by the seat of my pants with pretty much everything I do. I'll maybe have like a few videos banked, and I think that like I'm doing really well if I have that.
I love this. So do you get mad at yourself if you don't post someday or like take time off a few days in a row, or how do you handle that?
So I used to. When I was doing this when I started, which I'm coming up on 4 years this November. When I started, um, I had very obviously much younger kids. I have a 5 and 3-year-old now. So when I started, I had a 2-year-old and was pregnant. It was just a lot easier to film little quips when they're that little. When you're really all you're doing is just keeping them alive. Like that's the day. And so I would post like 5 to 7 times a day, every single day. I never took a day off. It didn't matter if I was on vacation. It didn't matter if I was sick. I would plan ahead. I would do whatever. And I got really burned out after doing that for a couple years. So now I'm at a really healthy place where I'm just like, I don't feel like posting today. And it's not, oh, but you have to. It's just, the world goes on. It's okay. And if I'm sick, I'm like, well, I don't feel well, so I've created much better boundaries around it now, thankfully.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we could tell ourselves this and like know it's coming, but for some reason, everybody I've met, and including myself, like we just have to learn the hard way.
Yeah, and you kind of just learn what works for you in your life. Like now it's not realistic. Like I said, I don't have a manager, I don't have someone, watching the kids, and they're getting older and they're getting busier and they're in sports, and there's just not it's not the same lifestyle that I was living 3 years ago with when they were tiny babies. So you have to adjust.
Oh, 100%. I have 7 children. They're the ages of 16 to 10. And there was the crazy stage when they were all little and I funded Pampers or Huggies, right? And then we got out of that stage and they were in school full time and it was I can look back on it now and say it was our easiest stage. And that's when I started climbing these mountains, and I even said after this last climb, I'm like, "I am so glad that it's done when it's done, because I can't go like I was going because we got into a hard stage again." I am in a hard stage right now.
Yeah, I think it's all hard. It's just different types of hard.
Yeah. Like, no doesn't mean no in my household. No means I just engaged in a 30-minute conversation of how I came to that idea and what thoughts went into it to result into the result we had. And they just, it's a lot of explaining,
That's
explaining.
my household too, but I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a pain in the butt sometimes out as it's happening when I'm, like, essentially like, sometimes you just wish, like, I'm gonna say no, and she'll just listen the first time, but at the other hand, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I love that she's questioning me." As frustrating as it is, I love that she's comfortable enough, she's using her brain and negotiating with me. I'm like, I hate it and love it at the same time.
Oh, no, no. I know. Like you appreciate that they'll push the boundaries, but then you're like, "Do we need to push mommy's boundaries? Like let's push other people's boundaries and then we can figure it out." But like, or I'm at the stage where my 16-year-old and he's trying to make some decisions last night and he had this big test at school today. And I'm like, I'm just, do you think it's the best decision-making process? Like, let's look at what this is going to lead to, and let's look at what we have tomorrow. And is there any way we can push this to another night? Right. And I'm trying to like help them just, teenagers think about right now. The ability to anticipate or plan ahead just does not happen, even though I try to like, let's set all this stuff out and let's be ready and whatever else. He's like, Mom, you don't get it. It doesn't matter. I'm like, no, I do kind of get it, because this test is what we're going to send to colleges to see if you're going to go there or not. Okay. So it does matter.
You think you know everything, your parents know nothing, and we all thought the same thing when we were 16.
I'm like, I promise I remember this stage. I was here. I'm trying to help you through it, but we'll see what happens. Um, you have a podcast too. So talk to me about your podcast.
I do. I started it just as because it's something I wanted to do. Why not add another layer? It's called Keeping It Normal, and I talk about I'm just pretty vulnerable on it. I talk about just kind of my life, motherhood. I talk about hard things I'm going through, and just I'm kind of open and honest about it, and just talk about my feelings and say like this is hard or I don't like this, and I have guests, and it's a good time. I think when you're vulnerable, it brings a kind of sense of comfort to people and they feel a little less alone. So that's kind of what I've tried to do through social media. And so, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I really, really like it. So,
Were you always good at sharing your vulnerability?
no, no, I don't think so. It was through social media that I kind of learned the power of it and how Um, I always found solace. I always found comfort in it. I always found when I was going through something, I would Google the situation and see if someone else was saying, "Oh, I went through this too." And it's okay, because it's the biggest sigh of relief when you express something of vulnerable feeling and someone, especially if it's someone you respect and admire and trust, says, "Oh, that happened to me too." And it's okay. Like it's the biggest wave of relief that you're not judged for whatever it is. And so when I put my life out there on social media and put some vulnerable parts out it and was kind of just like, this is my life and I'm very much okay with it, came a lot of community and people feeling relief from it. So I just try to continue to do that. It started with my house being messy, and I've just expanded through there and talked about, and anything you can imagine, uh, and my true feelings about it.
And have you ever had feedback that's been hard to metabolize? Like, how have you been able to protect yourselves by putting yourself out there?
Yeah, so I'm a big people pleaser, huge. And so the first couple years was really hard because um I would try to change what I was doing to get these people that will never like me, I've learned now, to like me or like what I was doing, thinking, oh, well, maybe, they've got something going there. But what I found was interesting was when I would change whatever they were talking about, they didn't like the new thing either. And I just thought they're never going to like me. So it doesn't matter what I do, what I say. So I might as well just keep being true to myself, because no one in my real life has a problem with me or has come to me saying, "Hey, I have concern about this," or, "You're making me feel bad," or whatever it was. And so I just thought, this random person on the internet is finding their own warped sense of community, and that's on them, you know. Um, but I have, comment filters, and I just block people. I found the power of just blocking this year, and it's been great. And I just keep going on with my life and being happy, and I'm just like that, what else can I do? So, yeah, it was really hard at first, but I think with anything you kind of your skin gets a little thicker, I guess. I don't like to say it comes with the territory because I think that's BS, but I've learned better coping skills to deal with it.
And that's probably built your confidence to continue doing you.
Yeah, I think I help far more people than I've ever seen, a mean comment. So I think I can't be doing that bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's that was I stayed away from social media forever because I was just afraid of it. And I'm like, you know what? You don't know me. You don't deserve da 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 da. And then I got convinced to do it. And there is so much amazing, beautiful things that come out of it that when you have the person that hates on you. Like I get picked on for my teeth. Okay? I'm like, of all things you're gonna pick on me for, you're gonna pick on for my teeth. They're too big, they're too white, they're too small. They're like, that's all when I smile, that's all you see. Like, what? Like, what? I mean, there's no way I could possibly show a facial expression and have it be right to all people.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you can't make everybody happy, and so I know I'm not hurting anybody and not doing anything, so I just keep on going on.
Now, how do you handle your children and your social media accounts?
Ooh, so that's shifted a lot. When they were younger, I grew very slowly, and then when my normalizing normal stuff went viral, I started growing very quickly. So when they were younger, they were in a lot of my videos. I would share a lot about them, and we did cute little videos and stuff. Um, and then as they've gotten older, especially my daughter, because she's in school now, full time. There was a shift of anything I say about her, anything I show about her, a friend could potentially see at school. So, because, if a parent watches a video. So I'm very limited. I might tell stories of something funny she said. She might be in a video. I'm reviewing toys right now, and they're playing with the toys, stuff like that. But I'm very cautious about talking about anything. I don't talk about anything personal about her, anything, medical or anything like that. Anything, I'm not going to stick a camera on my kid's face when she's crying, stuff like that. I just don't do. But I think I'm referred to as an occasional sharer. So they're on there occasionally, but they're not the basis of my content. So, yeah, that has shifted a lot from when they were little.
Yeah, no, I understand. I have the same thing going on with mine at different ages, and some of them want to be a part of stuff and some of them don't. And they did or they didn't. And it's just been letting it unfold as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how I'll handle yet. I mean, they're 5 and 3. When they one day want to be on social media, now that I've seen a good scope of it, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the thing that's, I think, constantly changing. So just allowing it to show up what it is. What made you decide to start the podcast? Like what?
I've just always I enjoy talking to people and hearing their stories. I'm a good listener. I just like I thought it would benefit people to have just another platform outside of a 60-second video that I could explore on topics a little bit and talk in depth and talk about kind of more, I don't know, have an actual conversation versus here's this piece of content that's sometimes serious, sometimes funny. You're getting 60 seconds of me. This was kind of like I can delve into more in-depth topics here. And then I tried it and it was just really nice. It was really fun talking to people and chatting with people, and it's more just, I guess, a hobby, a passion project, but it's turned into something I really, really enjoy doing. But yeah, it was just like, I really would like to try this, so I'm gonna try it. And so I went for it.
And has your personality always been like that? Like, I'm interested, let's give it a shot. Do you have fear of starting something new?
Um, I just have never uh, no, but I've never been very like, "Oh, I'm gonna try this." Yeah, so I guess that's kind of new where I'm, like, wanting to do more and try more things. I always say, like, 15 or 16-year-old Emily would be so proud of who I am now because I always wanted to be the person who, like, dyed her hair fun colors or cut it off, but I was too afraid of being made fun of, or so I kind of just tried to blend, to be a chameleon and to just lay low, and so now I'm not laying low anymore. And so if an idea comes to me, I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's try it."
And where do you think that shift has happened?
I think I just have more confidence, and I think I'm just getting older, and I think honestly social media has helped a lot because of what I do, which is showing what I call like the anti social media, the filter free, and just really having a band of people come together saying, "This is amazing, this is great, this is how I feel." It just kind of boosts your confidence, and I really just love my life. I romanticize my life. I think it's epic even when it's ordinary, and that has given me a lot of confidence to just be myself, realizing it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm walking down the street and dancing and having the time of my life if one person a mile away like makes a dirty face at me. Like, I'm in my own world. I'm in my own bubble. So I just take that energy wherever I go now.
Yeah, no, I love that about you. I know for me, I took a car crash where I should have died and didn't. But when I didn't die, I realized like how many thought patterns I was operating under. And I didn't want to disrupt the apple cart or bump other people or do whatever. I just wanted to stay in my lane and stay incognito at some level. And then when that car accident happened, I was like, done. That game's over. I don't care what your opinion is. I'm going to die someday. I want to try this thing. If I look crazy, so be it. At least I have the experience. Yeah, so mine was more of like a line in the sand type of event, and yours seems more of an evolution of, hey, this is me, this is working, I'm okay.
Definitely aging, so maybe similar lines of that. I think there's just, like, I'm calling it, like, a quarter life crisis. I'm 31, of just, like, you start seeing your grandparents get elderly and, like, my parents are starting to age, and there's just time is moving faster the older you get, and so, also that kind of reason of, like, "Okay, like, I am going to die one day, like, what do I want to do here?" Like, and why not just go for it?
No, I agree 100%. Do you ever look at your content that you put out in the beginning and cringe?
Um, yes and no. I mean, I think my first ever video ever posted was me dancing with my then, like, 1.5-year-old, and we did this little, like, trendy dance, and it was really cute. Um, but no, I just see it's interesting because when you're seeing almost like a documentary or something, like, I can watch videos of myself at 28, which is vastly different than 31, which I think almost everyone can say, and just, like, watching myself, like, grow up, really. and it's fun to look back and I'm like, I was so silly and goofy and I still am, but like it was just a different version. So I think it's fun. I don't really cringe ever. But I just think it's kind of fun to look back and see like 28-year-old Emily and how she was acting and feeling and versus like who I am now. So, yeah.
No, I think that's so healthy. I think a lot of people struggle with that. They look back and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I shared all that and that's who I was and da 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 da," instead of being able to appreciate the evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, I've grown I think it's also like I've grown in such a positive direction, I feel like. So it's fun to look back at like, "Oh, look, look how much I've grown since then." But yeah.
When you look forward, like what do you see things looking like in 10 years from now?
Ooh.
Or 5, we can do 5, that's easier.
Yeah, no, I came to a point like I just I just signed up to go skydiving and I'm going to sign up to run the Chicago Marathon next year.
Okay, wait. You can't just say, "I just signed up to go skydiving and run the Chicago Marathon next year," as if like, I want to have milk in my coffee. Like that's the tone that you just used for this huge epic thing that you just dropped. So slow down and give me a little more detail here.
Yeah, well, I really like I said, kind of on the topic we just said of just, I'm going to die one day. And I just thought, what if everyone really truly was pretty self-aware and looked inward on themselves and asked themselves to make a list of things that they wanted to not even just do but try, because we might not do it all, but like what at the end of your life would you really be laying there thinking, I wish I had just tried? Because I think if people ask themselves that, that list would actually be pretty small of that intense of a desire or dream, and it can be the craziest dream. But for me, one of them was skydiving and one of them was running a marathon, which I right now I can run like a mile. And I did a series on TikTok where I documented myself wanting to run a mile, and I had never ran before and never ran a mile start to finish. And it took 7 weeks of training, and I did it, and I ran the mile, and then I went on to run a 5K. And so I'm like, if I can do that, why not try to run 26 miles? Like, why not try? And I had told myself all these things of like, well, because you can't run and you can't breathe when you run and your feet are crooked and like all of these things. But I just kind of got to the point, and like I said, I think it's that feeling of like time is moving, and I just thought, what are these things that you want to do and why really aren't you trying to do them? So one of them was skydiving. And I think what a lot of people I have found have said is like, well, I have kids now, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to not take that, risk. Um, so I signed up to do it like next week.
Oh my goodness. Okay, wait again. Hold up. Okay, when did the urge to go skydiving enter, and how long between that and booking the appointment?
Well, from the time I like always, like I've just always I'm like, I want to do it. I want to do it and just never did it, never did it. And like I said, I have this new sense of things are changing, things are shifting. I want to do these things and I want to be this person that I want to be. Like I want to be the person that goes skydiving. So why aren't I getting there? And so I was bringing it up to my sister and her now fiance, my future brother-in-law, and yeah, and so I said to her, I really want to go skydiving, and her face just whipped to him, and they had obviously been talking about it, and she was like, I'm not doing it. But he was like, well, I'll go. And then it was like, okay, well, now someone's going to do it with me. Now there's this pressure of like, we've had the conversation. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to book it. So then we're in. And so I just was like, do you really want to do it? Because I'll book it right now. And when he said yes, I was like, okay, then it's go time. And I just booked it, and I'm like, "Okay." And I'm very calm about it now because I'm not in the plane. I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna be great."
No, I think this is so good. I love these 2 topics, and I wanna dive into them a little bit deeper with what we're saying, um, because I am such a proponent of community and the power of what happens from community and the power of saying, like, "So I'm gonna go on this epic hike that I am not ready for." Okay? I have not worked out since my last expedition. It is like 20 some thousand feet of climbing, 36 miles ish, might take 40 hours. We will not be sleeping. It is not really a hike. It's kind of climbing with like little walking sections to the next climbing section. And I had it, I'm like, I wanted to do it for a few years. And then somebody's like brought it up, and then somebody else brought it up, and then somebody, I'm like, okay, we're doing it because now it's come into my face too many times. And so we're going tomorrow to go do this thing. And I have 4 people I'm doing it with. We had to bring in people to help like give us water and make sure that we're like surviving the entire time we're going. And it takes one person to jump onto your idea for you to be able to make that from an idea to a reality. And so makes it real and it makes it possible. And it's like, it's in your mind, you're talking about it. And then eventually, like that one person's going to click on. And when that one person clicks on, just like you did, you make the call, you book the thing, and you understand that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning at 2 in the morning. I'm going to want to puke. I'm going to want to like pretend I'm sick. I'm going to want to do like all the things that resistance shows up like in our lives. But because I have one human on the other side, I can't let that person down, right? That accountability piece, that community piece, that thing. And so everybody who's listening, like, you have something in you right now that you want to do or that you're kind of excited about. I encourage you to talk about it and find your plus one.
Yeah. And it can be any, like the smallest thing matters in the biggest thing. Like it's nothing is too small to me to dream about. And it's not silly if you are excited about it ever. And yeah, so I would encourage just to try and do that thing that that's been on your mind.
Yes. And then the marathon thing. Like, I think this is another huge piece to what you're doing. It's going to be interesting. Yes.
Again, it's been that thing of like I want to run a marathon. Again, I don't know why. I'm not didn't do I was in band and theater in high school, okay? I was not athletic. Couldn't run a mile, like I said. So but then I did. Then I trained and it took a lot. It was 7 weeks of running and I did like a couch to 5K style. So you run a little and you walk a little. And I like kids would go to bed, I would go out running and I stuck with it. And it took 7 weeks, but then I ran the mile. And I just thought if I can run a mile, why not run a marathon? And then we moved and I stopped running for almost 2 years and I started back up again and I couldn't run a minute at a time again. And now I'm back up and training. So I just thought, you know what, the Chicago Marathon's about to happen like next weekend, I think. And then I think you can enter it or you have to enter some sort of lottery system. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get in for it for 2024. And if I get in, then I'll have roughly a year to train for it. And I just thought, okay, like I'll give it my all. I'll try.
And I'm telling you, friends, like when you give yourself a year to do something. So I was challenged by my son to climb Everest. Okay. I climbed one mountain before. I live in Park City, Utah. And then this goal got up to Mount Everest. And I sat with myself, be like, you know what? I'm going to climb Everest because I'm going to show that little bugger that whatever our Everest is, we can do. Right. Like the only thing that getting in the way between me and Everest is me, not anything else. And so what I love about what you're doing with this marathon is you're going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to try. I'm going to show up. I have a year. You'd be amazed if you do the teeniest, tiniest little things every day, what exponentially that creates in 365.
Oh yeah. And I think, I think a big maybe inspiration too was my mom two maybe 2 years ago, a year ago, anything. Anyway, she was a teacher. She randomly put in for a leave of absence at her school and asked and it's never granted, right? She wasn't expecting for it to be granted. I think it was like for 6 months. So that obviously interferes a lot with at a school. And she got it. And out against all odds, she got this leave of absence. And this is after she had a hiking accident, had major brain trauma, has overcome that. I mean, all the things. She puts in for this leave of absence and she says, I'm gonna hike the Appalachian Trail. She hasn't, like I said, she just got over hiking injuries, but it's something she always wanted to do. So we rallied together. I actually fundraised on TikTok. We raised $10,000, which it cost even more than that to do this because she had a mortgage and stuff back home. But got her started, got her gear. It was this really amazing thing. She gets out there. She had, I mean, no training, nothing. But she was like, I have to try. I've been granted this opportunity. I have to try. So she's got, huge pack, and she learned as she went, and it was this hugely spiritual, just this amazing experience. And she made it. I think the Appalachian Trail is like 1,200 or something. Don't quote me on that, but she made it about 700 miles, and she got injured and had to leave. Like, there was no continuing on. But I'm like, you with no experience tried and made it 700 miles in your 50s. I mean, that's insane. And so I'm like, you can't be mad at yourself at that at the end of your life, that even though you didn't do the whole thing start to finish, which she might by the end of her lifetime, but for now, like, even if you never did again, you tried it and made it 700 miles. So I think that might have ignited something in me too, of like, you went for it, and that's amazing and inspiring. So yeah.
No, and I think this whole podcast has been about going for it, like putting yourself out there, and like saying, "Hey, whatever it is a win." It might not be the finish line, but it's still a win. So I can either focus on the so many miles I didn't do or all the miles I have done. Both are true. One leaves me in power, one leaves me victimized.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, yeah, I'm not a fast runner. My miles are like 14 minutes long, but it's like I ran a mile. Doesn't matter how long it took me to get there, I still did it. So, yeah, I'm excited about it, but I just think, like, why not? Why not try? What's the worst thing I'm going to do is not complete it? At least I tried it and had fun, and it's an experience.
You're lapping everybody on the sofa, right? So there you go, lapping everybody that's at home that didn't even get out in the game and play in the arena. Um, okay, so where can people follow you? What's your favorite platform? How do they find your podcast? All these good things.
Yeah, so I'm on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. If you look up my name, I'll pop up. TikTok is where really I started. I have a lot of fun there. It's in my opinion the best community um that I've created, because it's such a safe place. Instagram and Facebook are not as safe. The comments are too much for me to keep up with personally. So, and people are very mean on there. It's still great. It's still a lot of fun. I really do enjoy. I'm liking Instagram a lot more, but TikTok is just its own thing, and I do really like it. And the podcast, Keeping It Normal, I think is on pretty much everywhere that you can stream a podcast. It's on Amazon and iHeartRadio and Apple and Spotify and all of the things in my YouTube. I have a YouTube, but I'm not very active on there. Um, but yeah, so yeah, Emily Feret. Just look me up. I'll pop up. You could see my messy house and my stretch marks and
Get new ideas for the new toys that you're testing right now, and
and so fun.
I bet I'm kind of jealous about that. My kids are past the toy age, and I do miss them, even though I don't miss picking them up.
Yeah. No, I do. Makes sense.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Emily. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Thank you so much for having me.